and how these liberal professors are literally spewing their narrative and pushing this agenda to our children. Somebody who knows a lot about it. He's the co-chairman of Students for Trump and also a member of the Turning Point Action Group. We've had him on before. Love this young man. Ryan Fournier, how you doing, Ryan?
I'm good, Dan. Hope you had a amazing Thanksgiving with more than 10 people.
We may or may not have had a protest. My house may have been a autonomous zone.
Acceptable. It's acceptable if it's a protest, Dan.
That's right. That's right. You heard what I just read. Okay, this is from a professor at a communication school at a very reputable state school, University of Rhode Island, telling all of her students that they can switch their paper and write about, quote, how millions of people voted for Trump and remain committed to him and his lies. Your thoughts?
I mean, this is just, I mean, this is textbook liberalism, projecting your political views on somebody who isn't going to speak up if they are the one or two conservatives in the class at that university. It's disgusting. You always grow up hearing, never talk about religion and politics with people, in public. And I would consider a classroom to be somewhat public in that sphere of many different ideologies. And when you push that view out there that you believe that he is lying, that he's fraudulent, that he's racist, that he's homophobe, any of these things, that's not the place or the time to do it. And it seems like we've been dealing with this a lot recently. I get messages all the time. I got a message from a student in a high school class, Dan, a teacher named Patrick Casey at Oxford Union High School in California, went out on a Zoom call and said that anybody who supports Donald Trump is a racist and a sexist. He said this on video, and I posted it last month, but this is the stuff that college students, high school students, middle school students, they're dealing with. And it's very real. And we, in part, fund it when we give money to our alma maters. We, in part, fund this when we voluntarily send our children off to these schools, not realizing that in the process, a lot of times they're coming out different than they were when they went in. And I'm not talking about they're more knowledgeable. They're coming out with a whole entire worldview, entire neo-globalist worldview where they're supporting something that they weren't ever even raised to understand or believe in. So this is some of the issues we run into, but it's disgusting that this professor would come out and project this view on the students. It's horrible, and it's happening everywhere.
Here's my issue too with it, Ryan. How do we get any sort of checks and balance? Because there is no law that says they can't. You would have to have the president or dean or somebody at universities like give criteria and make professors, sign something, I guess, when they get hired. It says you will not discuss anything about XYZ related to religion or politics, whatever. Stick to the talking points and education and curriculum of the classroom you're teaching. But of course, that's not going to happen. So what's the answer? Right. Like, how do we get this? Because I'm trying to think of any stories I've heard over the last 4 years where people on the left have been so upset about a teacher spewing love for the president and them disagreeing with that. All we constantly hear are liberal professors spewing hate for the president. And like you said, a couple conservatives might be in the class having the guts to speak up and to let the press know about it. But then, of course, the press barely touches the story, too. So what do we do? What do parents watching right now, can we give them any advice on what to do?
Yeah, we just put up a thing on this on the RF Angle. And, this has been increasing over the years. Opinion polling at universities, opinion polling in general, showing that it's increasingly liberal at universities. The issue that we are seeing is that they're increasingly forcing views on professors, the administration, and on students. College campuses used to be a defender of knowledge and freedom of thought, and now they've become essentially epicenters of ignorance and oppression. And it's going to be up to the teacher, or it's going to be up to the parents to realize what's going on, to ask their students what your teachers are talking about, for the students to speak up and do what they did, emailed you, Dan, come to people who can make this public, because it shouldn't be happening. And this is happening at the state level. These are public universities, a lot of them, where we hear these stories. The universities need to be held accountable. I think that in these Republican states where they're seeing issues, build a commission, see how many liberal professors there are versus Republican professors, make it more even, hire more conservative professors. If it's getting to this point where you're having overwhelmingly leftist views on the campus and you can't even speak out and say you support Donald Trump, there needs to be something, and the states are going to have to look into this because they are becoming overwhelmingly leftist. And we are, like I said before, voluntarily sending our children here, not knowing how they're going to be when they come out.
Yeah, and we could say, well, the parents could do more research, try to send them somewhere where it might not be happening. But from what I hear, it's happening at most state schools. I don't care if you're in the most conservative college in a conservative state, back in the heartland of the country, the Bible Belt, it's still happening. And it's going all the way down because I've heard it from my own kiddo. It's happening at middle school now, not just high school and colleges. These teachers are spewing this to young 8, 9, 10-year-olds. I mean,
yeah, it's activism. It's activism.
It is. That's the thing. Everybody's becoming an activist. I don't want to call reporters anymore in the mainstream media. They're activists now. Like Kayleigh McEnany called that reporter the other day. They're not journalists.
Well, people say the same thing with judges now too. You know, you're not a nonpartisan judge. You either have an R or D next to your name. You know, it's happening everywhere. It's just a big polarization or politicization of our entire system.
Yeah.
And we got to go back to some normalcy on that, because you shouldn't get harassed or your grades get, docked points because you have a different political view. I'm sorry, that's not how the world works. If you can't accept me for my views, well, then that's on you. That's your problem. It's not mine. I shouldn't be punished for it. And people need to be held accountable. Yeah, and we're doing just that.
Whatever happened to freedom of speech? Thought we still had that in this country. Ryan Fournier, thank you so much. Co-Chairman of Students for Trump and Turning Point Action. We always appreciate your viewpoints. And like Ryan said, if it's happening to your kids out there or you're seeing it happening, you can remain anonymous like this student did. Reach out to Ryan, the guys over at Turning Point. Reach out to us here at One America and Real America. And we will try and expose these liberal professors and their indoctrination of our kids. Ryan, you stay safe. Thanks 100%. So much for coming on, man.
Thank you.
All right, coming up after the break. So get this, a bunch of local BLM chapters across the country are really mad, and now they're revolting against the national arm of their organization. Why? Because they didn't get any of the millions of dollars that was raised over the past summer. That's right. It all stayed at the national BLM charter. Didn't go to the small ones. Wonder why? Where'd the money go? Friend of ours, Brandon Tatum's going to sound off when we come back. Don't go away.